What's up? I'm mess up.
All right. Welcome to another fantastic edition of Thursday Night's Live Well here at Fish North, Georgia. I am behind the scenes here, Ryan Sheffield, Danny Pruitt, and our guest, Mr. Emil Wagner. BFL All American Emil Wagner is in the house tonight. So without further ado, we're going to take this right in. There's Mr. Pruitt
there
right there.
Go.
There's Mr. Pruitt. Appreciate him, as always, being here. We appreciate Emil being here. For you guys that are getting on here, we really appreciate everything and all your viewership. This is going to be a fun show. Let's go ahead and take care of some business real quick here. This is our main title sponsor here, as always, Miss Jennifer and Peyton with For Her Outdoor Apparel. Check out their lineup of casual and performance apparel at www.forheroutdoor.com. For Her Outdoor Apparel on Facebook as well. Go give them a like, and they'll keep the outdoors woman or man in your life looking stylish and feeling fantastic. The outdoors aren't just for the boys anymore. They're for her. That is For Her Outdoor Apparel. And Mr. Pruitt, take it away.
I am ready. How long did you practice that there, bud?
Shot from the hip.
Shot from the hip. So there you go. So, all right. Good evening, everyone. Like Mr. Ryan said, thank you for joining us here on the Live Well. We got a great show for you tonight. If you're watching, of course, on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're watching at a later date or listening to this on iTunes or Spotify, hey, we appreciate your time as well. And again, check us out on all our social media at fishnorthgeorgia.com. So it'll probably take a few minutes for everybody to wake up and get on, clear out from the Braves game and all that. But we got an absolutely fantastic show because we have the man in the house. Probably still one of the best looking guys ever to walk in here. I don't know what you think. We got Mr. Emil Wagner there. How you doing, kid?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Check out this trophy, guys, right here. So that is awesome. All-American Lake Hartwell champion of the Phoenix. How do you properly say that? I wrote down Phoenix Bass Fishing League All-American. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's the way to say it?
The name changes every year.
Every year. So already got a couple comments. Farmer says congrats on the W.
Thank you.
And what we're going to do tonight, we're going to talk, of course, to Emil about the weekend tournament. I've got a lot of questions. Guys, if you've got questions for Emil, make sure you hit them in the comment section. I will ask them as long as they're appropriate. I will pass them on to him, and we'll get some answers for him. Bass Fishing Live, what's going on? Again, if you're watching on Facebook, go to www.backward/StreamYard.com. Is that right, Ryan? Did I say that right? No, I didn't say that right. Let's say it again. How do I say it? Ryan's going www.streamyard.com /Facebook and put your name.
It's in the comment.
It's in the comments now. Hit that up. Put your names in the comments so that we can see your name. But if you want to stay, under the radar, you don't have to. But again, appreciate it. So, Emil, dude, how you feeling right now?
Feeling good. Yeah, it was obviously an awesome week. Been anticipating that event for a really long time, and to have it all come together after some big tournaments that were close, it was nice.
Yeah,
definitely a monkey off my back.
Absolutely. I've been reading a lot up on a lot of the reports from the tournament, and one of the things I noticed about it was you saw it on the schedule, when it first came out, and you had your mind laser focused on that.
Yeah. So
looking forward to how long has the schedule been out for? A year, I guess, or
it came out. They released it last fall, so it was like you didn't even know that you were trying to get to the All-American on Hartwell. It was just kind of like get there, and then they tell you later on.
Right.
But once I saw it, it was like, yeah, I definitely wanted to be there, no doubt.
Okay, absolutely. Got a few more congratulations going in there.
You're going to get them all night, buddy.
Yeah, you're going to get them. So, yeah, plenty of details. Guys. I'm going to try to squeeze as much out of this lemon as I can right here. So, one of the questions with all the reading about the tournament and everything, and we're going to get to the actual tournament. But one of the questions that I have for you is, once you saw, that might be where it's at, and how many how'd you get qualified for it first? Is there a qualification?
Yeah. So you have to fish a whole division of BFLs. So I fished the Bulldog and the Savannah River, and they take the top 45 to a regional championship, and you fish against the top 45 from 3 other regions. So you got 180 boats in one of those regional championships, and they take the top 6 to the All-American. And I fished 2 of those regionals. I finished 4th in the first one and 2nd in the other one.
Second. So you still had to qualify to get there.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just a hammy. You had to work for it.
Yeah. No, it's not an easy tournament to get to. Yeah.
When did you find out it was on Hartwell again?
Before the regionals, I know that. I think they released it in like September.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Again, got it. Wayne Huddleston, Lebanon, Tennessee. Absolutely love it every time you're on here, buddy. Appreciate you guys. A lot of congrats still coming on. You guys keep it on and make sure you listen. If you got questions, shoot them because we're going to ask them tonight. Once you saw it was on Hartwell, in your mind, did you think, hey, you know, I can place high enough in these regionals. I know I got a chance to get out there. Or did you concentrate on the regionals first, or did your mind automatically go to
No,
Hartwell?
I mean, it's so hard to get a top 6 in those regionals.
Right.
I mean, you're not going to like Lanier. You're going to. We were lucky. It was at Smith and Murray, so those are both herring lakes.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not automatic by any means. It's hard to get a top 6 because it's 180 boats. So I was focused on the regional, and then once I qualified, yeah, my mind was definitely on it. But there was, I mean, between that, I had 6 Toyotas, 8 more BFLs, all kinds of local tournaments. So I tried to just ignore it up until it was actually my next event, but it was always in the back of my head, no doubt.
Hey, listen, come closer to the mic and be proud of what you've accomplished.
He wants you to scoot up to the mic, or you want the mic come up to him?
There you go.
So,
however, whatever it is.
Yeah. So let me ask you this.
I want everybody to be able to hear you. We are proud of you.
Absolutely,
we
are.
We really are. All of us. I think if there's anybody up here who is not proud of you, let me tell you something. They've got issues.
Look at that.
We're proud of you.
We are. He's got his own camera. We set that up today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we set that up today. So, okay, first question. How can you catch a fish on Lanier? I've sucked this week. Real quick, help out Dylan. If he wants to go to Lanier this week, how do you catch a fish?
Top water, flukes, and swim baits. We smashed them all week. We went today. I had an 8-hour trip today, and it was unbelievable. I mean, it was the next 3 weeks are probably the best 3 weeks of the whole year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was unreal.
Yeah, and what's pretty cool is, and I guess it kind of shows how crazy you are about fishing. When I talked to you the other night about coming on, short notice, but you were actually fishing a Tuesday nighter?
Yeah.
On Allatoona. Or was it
Lanier?
Oh, it was on Lanier.
Yeah.
So you just finished the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Won this big championship.
I fished the Monday nighter on Allatoona, then the Tuesday nighter on Lanier, Tuesday, and I guided Monday and Tuesday. So it was, it was something.
Wazoo wants to know, how long do you let a hole reset before hitting it again?
That varies per lake. That's a good question, though. Lanier, it seems to take a lot longer. Hartwell, it seemed like you could come back in 30, 45 minutes and they'd be ready to go again. But on Lanier, it takes them a little bit longer. But that varies per time of year and per lake, and you kind of just got to experiment.
Okay, all right. So going into Hartwell, we've done figured out, all right, the All American's going to be on Hartwell. Tell us a little bit about, you know, how you started to prep. I know you did a lot of graphing. I read where you've done a lot of graphing and everything. Mm-hmm. But let's start from the beginning with your mindset. Okay, I've qualified. It's at Hartwell. What was your first thought about going into this tournament?
It was May 31st to June 2nd, I believe. So it's kind of that weird period where like it's either going to be on fire or you're still towards the end of that post-spawn funk. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't really bad and it wasn't really good. Like it was on it. The weights looked pretty for, I guess, me and Matt and Buddy, but it was pretty tough fishing. So I knew what I wanted to do, which was the same thing we do here, just offshore, brush piles, schooling fish, all that stuff. So the whole thought process of like worrying what you're going to do wasn't there. It was more of just finding the right stuff and making sure you execute in the tournament. So yeah, I came down 3 or 4 days before the cutoff, graphed from daylight to dark, just looked around the entire lake. And then same thing, we had 2.5 days of official practice. I just went and checked stuff, and you try to formulate as good of a game plan as you can without being too precise. Like I don't ever go into a tournament saying, I'm going to hit this at this time, this at this time. You just kind of gather as much stuff as you can. And then day one, I ran all of it, or I tried to run all of it. There was too much. And then by day two, you know, you get a little more dialed into what they're on. And then by the third day, you're like super dialed into where the big fish are. So yeah, you kind of just collect as much stuff as you can in practice and then figure it out in the tournament. That's my strategy anyway.
I want to go ahead and get this out of the way because you mentioned Matt and Buddy. Yeah. All right, so we're talking about Buddy Benson and Matthew O'Connell.
Yeah.
All right, so that's your top three right there. Yeah. And you guys are all pretty good friends. You fish against each other.
Yeah.
So, you know, I want to go ahead and I was going to ask that question later on, but since you brought them up, Tell me a little bit about those guys and fishing against them.
They're just really good fishermen at the house. I mean, me and Matt and Buddy, we fish against each other like almost every local tournament. So, I mean, Buddy was leading after the first day.
After day one, yep.
Matt was right behind me. And then Buddy had like 15 the next day. And Matt, I had 20, and I thought I was going to be like way in the lead. And Matt caught 20. So we were like, I think I had a 12-ounce lead on Matt. And I knew it was, realistically, one of us three was going to win it going into the last day. But they're both like insanely good fishermen.
Oh,
so,
they are.
Yeah,
they are. Absolutely.
Yeah, like they're really good.
Michael Temples wants to know, were you ever worried about Buddy?
I mean, I try not to worry about anyone,
Right.
but Buddy and Matt, like I said, they're both so good. I mean, it could happen to either of those guys. So I try to
maybe it'll happen next time.
Well, it could.
Yeah.
It could.
Yeah.
They're both due for sure.
And I told you what was really cool, Michael. And I told Emil beforehand, I coached Buddy in football growing up. He was my quarterback, like 9, 10, 11 years old, something like that. It's been a long time ago. So it was pretty cool, though. At day one, he was leading.
Yeah.
And you jumped back in the lead day 2, going into day 3, 12-ounce lead.
Over Matt. And then I think we both had like 3 pounds on Buddy. But that sounds like a lot, but it's really not that much.
It's really close.
Yeah, because Buddy could catch 20 or 21, and then we could have 16 or so. And that last day, we had the toughest conditions of the whole tournament. So yeah, it really could have been anyone's game.
Did you three ever talk during the tournament?
Yeah, we talked like pretty much as soon as we pull in. It's like, what do you have? What do you have? And then you talk in the weigh-in line. You talk.
Now, how much though? Talking like, were you telling each other what you were catching or what you were seeing?
No. Like me and Matt, like we called each other a few times during practice, but it wasn't like super specific. We were just kind of BSing about what the bite was like and how tough it was and whatnot. But no, you're not like going.
I wondered.
Not in that big of a tournament.
I want you to listen to these names, and I pulled this off an article that was written by you. Rick Clunn, Sean Grigsby, and I hope I say the last name right. Is it Clark Windlet?
Clark Windlet.
Yeah, Clark
Windlet. Jacob Wheeler, Jeremy Lawyer. Those guys are all former BFL All American champs, and now Emil Wagner is one of those. How does it feel to have your name amongst that group right there? Because that's something.
No, I know it's insane. Like I said, I guess it's finally starting to set in, but just an incredible week. It lined up perfectly for me, and just thankful it happened. We asked
Emil before we went live. Ryan did. Has it sunk in yet?
Yeah.
And you kind of answered it to us, but tell everybody, has it sunk in yet what you just accomplished?
It has, but it hasn't. Like, I'll still have buddies text me like, oh, you're going to the Red Crest. And I honestly had like forgotten. I'll be like, oh shit. Yeah, I guess that is happening. So
that's right.
Like in a way it has, but in a way it hasn't. Like I'll wake up and look at the trophy and I'm just like, damn, you have so much hard work and like thinking and stress and anxiety going into a tournament like that. So it's more just like when you're done, it's like, you're extremely excited, but it's just like a sigh of relief. Like, holy crap.
Oh, yeah. I think it's absolutely freaking awesome that you did. I'm going to go on Kurt Wehunt's question right there because I also had something related in the question. He wanted to know, what was your final spot to largemouth total? And that's what I want to know. What was the ratio of spots to largemouth?
It might have been dead even. Like
50-50.
Yeah, so the first day, I caught more spots than largemouth overall, but weigh-in fish, the first day I had, 2 largemouth and 3 spots. The second day I had 3 largemouth and 2 spots. The last day I had 3 largemouth and 2 spots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the largemouth were usually the kickers. The second day I had a spot, almost 5, which those don't come around very often on Hartwell, but the largemouth were the kickers. The first day they were all between like 3.8 and 3.14, and I'd throw them back like 5 over 3 pounds. I just couldn't catch a big one. And then the second day I had a 5 1/4 largemouth, a spot almost 5, and then like a 4 1/4 largemouth. So those help a ton. And then the last day I had a 5-pound largemouth, which anchored everything because all the others were 3 pounds.
That is awesome. We're going to get to
the same. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Dave.
Yeah,
that is the same problem. I fished Hartwell a lot too, Emil. That is the same problem that I always seem to have with Hartwell is, largemouth
Yeah, we only lost
Okay. All
20,
right.
25.
So remember, if you guys that watched last week, you remember I kept having connectivity issues
It's not
with our
that.
internet.
It wasn't that.
Danny's claiming it wasn't that. I may or may not know how to run the Wi-Fi.
No, it was me. Let me tell you what I did. I got the new router. I got everything fixed, got it hooked up. Everything was perfect, except I didn't plug the damn thing in, and we just ran the battery.
Oh, my gosh. So it's Danny's fault.
I like Scott's comment.
Everyone blame Danny.
Pay the internet bill. It's my fault, guys. I mean, I had like the biggest guest we've ever had, the most famous guy that's ever been here,
Whatever.
and I
What's the
absolutely
sauce?
screwed it up. So,
All right. Back to me.
yeah,
We'll finish what I was going to say. All right.
Shit.
Fishing Hartwell. I fished Hartwell for a lot. Me and Emil talked about this already. So whether or not he gives me the exact same answer again is what we're going to see.
Sorry, farmer.
Fished Hartwell a lot. Previously, before in Hartwell, if you focused strictly on spots, years ago, and you couldn't really put together the same bag, Hartwell I'm nowhere comparing Hartwell to Lanier in terms of spotted bass. But what is the kind of difference now that you're starting to see in terms of the spotted bass on Hartwell? Because they are some bigs in there, but there's just not the same. It's like fishing for largemouth on Lanier. You can catch them the first day, but then day 2, you may not catch them again because you run out of them. It's like a flip-flop with spots. You'll catch them the first day, and then the second day you run out. So what's kind of the stuff that you've been seeing? Because I know you also go up there and fish, guides up there and stuff too. So what do you see?
It's a weird deal there because on Lanier, you go fish offshore all day. You're lucky, not even lucky, but you might catch one largemouth. There, it's like guys who stay offshore, they're going to run into big largemouth. So it's like, because they're out there, you have to have a few of them. But the spots are getting way bigger. Like you can catch 17 to 18 pounds of spots. Not easily, but it's super doable. And I know there's been some 20-pound bags weighed in all spots there. But at the end of the day, there's so many big largemouth in there. You need a few of those 4, 5, 6 pounders in your bag to do something usually.
So mentally, what was your strategy going in, knowing that this is a 3-day event? How much recycling did you do basically?
Quite a bit. So the first day, you mean like recycling spots?
Yes.
Yeah. So the first day I ran like probably 80 or 90 places, like as fast as I could. And then you get a feel for like the 20 or 30 that are good.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you kind of run those. And then, but I remember like the second day I was really struggling. And then I pulled up on a waypoint that I had marked as like a has fish, but like kind of like a B hole, like not that good. And then I pulled up to it and they were just loaded on it, even though there was maybe a couple fish there in practice. So it's like, it's weird. Those fish move a lot. And it's like, you just kind of got to stay open-minded. But I definitely recycled a lot of places, especially the best ones.
Okay,
cool.
There was a handful of places that just had way bigger fish than the rest of them.
Gotcha. Now, Matt O Fishing, is that O'Connell right there? I want to take time to congratulate you. I know we got Emil on here. I talked to you today. I'd like to get you in here somehow as well. But congratulations on a second place finish. That's impressive too. And again, we talked before. I absolutely murdered the.
He got second
internet.
at Sinclair like 2 weeks ago at the BFL too.
Did he
He's
really?
on a roll. Yeah.
So
it's only a matter of time.
Yeah. So a couple of things. Did you pay Scott Barnes his 20% commission, since I think he's taking credit for all your success?
Not yet, but thank you, Scott. You're
Scott,
the reason for all of this.
Yeah, Scott is the reason. He's a good guy. He's a good dude.
You need to answer this question. He's already asked it twice.
All right.
Noah Leenertz. Maybe Leenertz. I don't know. He is asking Emil. I just want to know what model NRX he throws a swim bait on.
I don't throw a swim bait on NRX. I do throw a fluke on one, and it's an 852. 852, in my opinion, is the best all-around spinning rod ever. Yeah, that I have 2 of them, and they are beat to absolute hell, and I love them.
That's high praise right there.
Yeah.
Did you focus mostly on areas, pull that up, and get largemouth and spots mixed together, or did you have to focus on largemouth separately?
There was a couple. So I had one place that was literally all largemouth. That was all it was. I caught a 4 1/4 there the second day. I caught my 5-pounder there the last day, and I caught several other like 2 to 3s that I didn't end up weighing in. But most of the places it was a mix, and the stripers mix in there with the bass too. The first day it was pretty crazy. The biggest one I had And again, they were all pretty close, but it was right at 4. And I was thrown into a school of what I thought was stripers, and most of them were. And I hooked one, and you were catching so many a day, I was just wrenching them in. You can tell pretty quick if they're a striper just by how they run. And I was pulling him in, and like 10 feet from the boat, he popped off. And the second he came off, a 4-pound largemouth ate it instantly.
Seriously?
And 10 feet from the boat, and I got him in.
That's when you know it's time.
The stripers are just so much more aggressive.
Uh-huh.
And, it's just, it's not luck, but it's just, you kind of got to weed through them sometimes. Like the second day I had a spot almost 5. It came after catching 2 stripers. So it's a different deal over there. They don't seem to do that on linear.
Okay. I noticed, again, reading you, blueback herring, that was your concentration.
Yeah.
Kind of your mindset going into how you were going to, approach these fish. How much did you learn from Lanier, and what did you take to Hartwell with you as far as the blueback herring?
All of it.
So Lake Lanier
it's pretty much the
basis.
exact same type of fishing. It's just the fish set up differently. They get on different. There's small differences, but the main deal is exactly the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the main deal?
Well, just the whole, the whole brush, everything you learn on linear, the whole brush deal, all the tricks, all that stuff.
Right. Scott Barnes wants to know, were you scoping fish?
Yeah,
fish?
I mean, you could see all the schools before you throw to them pretty much. Sometimes they'd school and you just throw over there, but I wasn't ever just picking out like an individual one. Like you weren't using your live scope to like throw a lure at one fish and catch him. You were more just using it for lineups, kind of like we do here, lining up with a brush pile, lining up with a school, something like that. And then you pretty much take your eyes off it once you know you've made the right cast.
How many spots did you hit in a given day?
The first day, probably more than any, 60 or 70, 80. I really don't know, a lot. And then by the third day, I was rotating like 15.
Okay.
So you just get more dialed in by the day.
All right. So according to the media out there, these baits right here played the biggest role in your success. The Sebile, the 6 Sense catwalk topwater walking bait, and the Zoom fluke. Is that pretty much accurate?
That's what I weight every single fish on.
Okay. And let's start with the Sebile. I noticed that if the wind was up, that's when you threw the Sebile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You were quoted as saying, windy, I threw it. I didn't catch a lot of fish on it, but what I caught were good fish.
Yeah. Yeah. You'd pull up and it was frustrating because you'd throw it on some places where you knew you could have caught one on a fluke or even like a drop shot or something, just anything you get bit on every time.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd throw it over them and they'd just follow it and it would, it sucked. But then you'd throw it on a place and you'd catch one and it'd be a 3+ and you're like, okay, I can weigh that fish in. So It was worth it to grind through it. And usually I'd catch a limit on something else first, like a fluke. In the morning, they're eating a fluke good. But then after that, I did end up culling a lot of them on a Sebile and a topwater.
Just for those that might want to know, what's your setup for your Sebile?
I actually just started throwing it on a new rod that I'm really liking. It's a 7.6 medium heavy winch by Abu Garcia. It's actually a crankbait rod. I throw it on an 8-to-1 reel with 15-pound fluoro.
15-pound fluoro. Okay. All right. And so from the Sebile to the catwalk, when would you use the catwalk?
The catwalk, if they were really chewing, like topwater is probably my favorite thing to throw. I really don't like throwing jointed swim baits. It was just working well over there for whatever reason. But when they're set up really high and you have light wind, it's a weird deal. Like some days they eat the swim bait better, some days they eat the topwater better, and you kind of just had to feel it out. Like you throw the swim bait on 4 or 5 places, and if they weren't eating it, you might try topwater. And if you got bit right away, it was like, all right, I'm going to throw this for a little while. And the timing changes throughout the day. So it's like one day they ate a Sebile in the morning, one day they ate it in the afternoon. There wasn't necessarily that much of a rhyme or reason to it. You just had to pick up on it throughout.
Okay.
Sounds like Lanier.
Sounds like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Sounds exactly like
Got
Lanier.
some great questions in here. And again, glad you guys are coming back. Excuse me for the internet error that is all 100% human made. Dylan wants to know, did your plan change at all based off what you found in practice? Or how about this? Let's rephrase that question. Based upon what you found at practice, how did it, direct you?
I pretty much knew what I was going to do going into it.
I figured you were going to say
maybe minor
preconceived
differences.
notion.
Like the first day at like 11 o'clock, I had 1 3.5 pounder. That was it.
Okay.
And I had a bait tied on in the rod locker that was like a different color, and I just didn't think I was going to throw it. And I pulled it out of the rod locker, and first cast with it, I caught a 3.5. 2 casts later, I caught one almost 4, and I culled everything out on it. And so that was a little adjustment that made a huge difference.
Just color.
And that was just a color deal.
Okay. All right, Derek O. What do you like about a catwalk over other similar walking baits?
It's kind of a cool deal. One thing it'll do is if you reel it, it dives up, kind of like that OG bait everyone throws, which is a good bait too. It'll do the same thing as that. So you can reel it and it'll dive down, it'll get their attention, and then you can start walking it and they'll eat it. So that's one thing that's unique to that. It's got a good knock to it too.
Okay, let's keep going. Let's pull up Derek White's question. When in your fishing career did it click that hitting 50+ spots a day was the deal? So many anglers struggle with that.
I don't know. I ran a lot of places early on, and sometimes you'll run 50, I guess, earlier on before you figure it out, and it sucks. But then I feel like a lot of guys do it. It's just making those little adjustments throughout the day and catching them at 25 of those 50 stops that makes the difference. But I don't know. I've probably been doing that for 3 years or so. So maybe hitting. Yeah, I don't know. Some days you don't hit quite 50. Some days you might be more dialed in. And
that's the herring game, Danny.
That's the herring game.
I mean, you've heard me tell you that before. I mean, that's just if you're playing the blue.
I think everybody knows that. It's not a secret.
It's not a secret, but
it's hard to stick to it mentally.
How about on a typical day when you're guiding or just fishing or in any other tournament? When you approach a spot, what do? Scan it first, and then if nothing piques your interest, you make a cast and go. You just run and gun, or
like pretty much if you pull up. And I will say at Hartwell, I was staying at places longer than I expected. Like sometimes I'd stay at a place for 10 or 15 minutes because for whatever reason, like they'd school 5 minutes into sitting there. Or there was the thing about Hartwell is here usually you'll have one group of fish on a spot, and there might be 20 or 30 or 40 of them on Hartwell. Some of those places had 3 separate groups of fish on one spot, so you'd have to. Yes. You might have to hit one group and then kind of move on and hit another group, or one might fire in a second and one might not. It took longer to weed through them there.
Okay, I got you.
Seen that.
How many fish did you typically catch, any given day on Hartwell?
Including stripers?
Everything. Yeah, just, typical day. How many?
Everything?
Yeah.
Probably 50 or 60.
50 or 60 a day.
Yeah, and then
fish.
Probably 30 bass a day. I'd say.
So that many stripers.
The last day I probably caught 20 or 25. The first day I probably caught 40 bass, but the last day was tougher.
Okay. All right. Let's pull up Nick's question right there. Have you tried out the Magnum catwalk?
They sent me a few and they're pretty sweet. I think, they're a little bit big, but I only threw them like one evening and I had several hit it, but I didn't catch one on it, but I haven't thrown it all that much.
How big we talking?
It's pretty big. I think it's close to 7 inches long.
I was going to say, is it in the 6.5 inch range?
Yeah, it's big. It weighs. I think it weighs over an ounce. It's
you can really hum.
It's one of those. It's one of those like Texas gizzard shad spawn top waters.
Okay. All right. Let's pull up the next question here. You guys keep the questions coming. You're making my job easy. I see you with your 6 inch shirt on, but what was your first sponsor and how did you get it?
First sponsor, I guess, was in high school. We started the team in 9th grade and just emailed a bunch of companies trying to get like discounts and stuff, like a typical high schooler. But I don't really focus on any sponsorships. I kind of took the route of, and I'm still taking it. Like I'm not by any means making a bunch of money off sponsors, but I feel like if you just fish and do what you're supposed to do on the fishing side of things and get the results you want to get, they'll come on their own. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You don't have to drop names, but you got some prospects now?
Yeah. That helped a lot for sure.
Now, seriously, from the time you got the trophy,
my phone has not been ringing off the hook.
It has not. Okay, I was just curious.
It's helped for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see. Let's pull up the next one right there.
Oh well, we're going to ask. There's Kurt Wee Hunts.
So has Josh Jones invited a fellow 6 cents player and All American winner out to video with him? I'd call him.
He hasn't yet.
He hasn't. Fun, though. All right, maybe we can get Josh Jones to do that. Right there, Bass Fishing Live. Do you land stripers with a net or the calipers? The net consumes so much time with me and stripers.
Honestly, I boat flipped probably 75% of them because the stripers actually weren't biting that good. They were all hybrids and they were all like 2 to 8 pounders. So you could boat flip most of them. Mm-hmm. I will say some of the bigger ones, when I had like a bait on that I really didn't want to lose.
Right.
I don't know. I probably only netted 1 or 2 of like the.
But you took a little more care with those.
Like I might have got down and but I boat flipped most of them and just get them with the pliers real quick and chuck them back.
So what are you? So are you throwing your top waters on? What pound test?
50-pound braid straight. Braid.
Okay, so see guys, you're asking those questions. He don't need no net.
Yeah, right. 50-pound braid and 2X hooks.
What brand braid do you use?
Spinning rods, it's Seagar Smackdown. On the bait casters right now, I use the Power Pro Slick V2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that stuff.
Okay, very, very, very good.
Here's a good question.
All right, let's pop it up right there. Is there a water or weather condition that gets you focusing on drop-offs rather than brush? And I think he probably read the article where you talked about that's where you were finding fish, not so much on the brush like everybody.
Well, I did find a lot on the brush. I just had 4 really special places that had nothing to do with brush or timber or anything. And they were on them. If it was cloudy and windy, they bid on them by far the best. But that last day, I caught that 5-pounder on one of them, and it was sunny and slick. So they were on them regardless. But anytime, I'd take clouds and wind over anything. Yeah,
it was pretty cool that you were talking about how the drop off was like in 6 to 10 foot of water,
it was
going
kind
down
of like
to 20,
an ignored zone,
and those fish were just there.
Yeah,
I mean, did it make sense to you when you saw that? Did you expect that?
Kind of, because I had 2 of them I already knew about before practice or anything. And they're kind of like, there's not many of them. So I just went and looked for like every place I thought could have one. And I found like 2 more, but it's a needle in a haystack.
Needle in a haystack. Okay. Absolutely. Pull up that one. We got guys, great questions. Keep them coming. What is your thought on throwing like a 4.25 top water?
That works. I throw a chug bug a ton. And I mean, that's probably a 4-inch top water, but always, I mean, if it's ever tough or you're having fish miss your stuff, like tweaking stuff is super important on herring lakes. So don't be afraid to just 100%. Try something off the wall, downsize, anything like that. Never a bad idea.
Guys, that's Bible. Put it in your Bible.
What's that?
Downsizing. Fishing the appropriate size bait, depending upon what the fish are eating.
Okay.
You know, we get out here on this whole sense, and Emil can probably expand on this if he wants to. Everyone goes out there and throws big old plugs.
Yeah.
Why the hell can I not get bite? Well, maybe it's because they're not eating 5 and 6 inch long herring.
Yeah, and right now they are, so you can get away with it. But
exactly, but there comes a point in time where they won't.
Yeah, like in the fall, you see them eating those micro thread fins, even out in the middle of the main lake, and then you got to get a little more tricky and try different stuff. And those little adjustments make a big difference.
Here's Scott.
Yeah, okay. So Scott, and this guy, I want to also give a shout out while I'm doing this because of his question. Benji Winkler of Trickster Baits actually finished 9th in the co-angler.
Yeah, he did. He's been killing it.
So that's actually, so congratulations, Benji. Good job. That's really cool. How do you deal with co-anglers? Knowing that you won, I was just curious if having a co in the boat concerns you.
That's a good question. On herring lakes, especially in the summer, it's tough because like if you're doing it correctly, it's just a hard deal from the back. It was kind of funny so obviously in the All American, they fish all 3 days. The way they really should do it is like the opens where they crown a champion after 2 days, because those are randomized draws. So a co-angler will draw someone random day 1, it'll flip-flop day 2, and it's someone random. And then the 3rd day, they pair them with like the first place co-angler with the first place boater. What they should do is crown them after 2 days.
I didn't know
2 days of randomized partner fishing. It just makes way more sense. It wouldn't cost them any money. It wouldn't make their week any less special. And on top of that, you have cameramen in the boat and everything else, plus a co-angler. It's a mess. But my point is, in the opens, they crown them after 2 days, and it puts way less pressure on the boater, because going into first place as the boater, you're like, well, my co-angler's in first, and now I'm so focused on winning this tournament, and I have to think about my co-angler trying to win it, and it is pretty stressful. You don't want to screw your boat. You don't want to screw your co-angler. Yeah, but it was kind of a cool deal at Hartwell, because my guy, the final day, the regional last year at Smith Lake, I mean, that's $75,000 for first place. It was a big tournament. I was going into the last day in second, and my co-angler that day won the tournament because, I mean, I helped him out a lot, and he won by like 7 pounds, and he won a boat. And then going into the last day at the All American, I had the same co-angler, and he was like, dude, you helped me out a lot. Like, I won at Smith. He was like, don't worry about me, do your thing. And
that's awesome.
He was only probably 2 pounds from winning it still, the All American, but it was I took that to heart, and I just went after it. And,
yeah, but he understood what was
at stake. It's a tough deal. Like, it's like you want to help him out, but at the same time you have to focus on trying to win. So it's tough. Yeah, it is.
All right, so this is a little random question, but how did you find fish on Sinclair the other weekend without practice?
I literally just showed up. I mean, I'd been there before. So I had like 2 offshore places I liked. I caught some there, ran some new water with a frog. I caught some in the grass with a frog, just running shade lines. And then I went and graphed for like, maybe an hour, and I found another place. I caught some there. And I mean, you can always catch them off docks there. I had some docks with some brush on them. You can just drag a worm. And that was like the most stress-free tournament I've ever fished.
You just went fishing.
I literally just showed up, no practice.
There you go.
It was really fun. I drew Joe Morgan that day. We had a fun day.
Okay, that's cool. Neil Scoggins, what depth were you concentrating on, Main Lake or what? And I assume he's talking back on Hartwell.
Yeah, Main Lake and creeks. It was anywhere from 15 to 25 is where they all were. But that time of year, you're viable to catch them in the back third of a creek just as much as you are out on the main lake.
There's a couple other questions, but I'm going to jump down to Matt O'Connell's. Don't answer questions about Sinclair. I understand that. I get it. Connor Hewitt wants to know, what about a walking 4.25? You ever mess with any of those?
I think we already answered that one. But
he asked earlier about, what was it? His question earlier was,
he asked the question, is what are your thoughts on throwing a 4.25?
Oh yeah. Well, kind of same answer there. Like if they're on smaller bait. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
worth a shot.
And then his next question right there, when you fish brush, do you focus on the top or the side of a brush?
It depends. Like if you're throwing top, I mean, with live scope now, it used to be you just lined up with a waypoint, stayed 80, 100 feet back and through. But now you can see, like usually on a sunny day, they're right on top of it. And on a cloudy day, they might be on top of it or to the side. But if you're dragging something, like if I'm throwing a jig in the brush, I usually try not to get right, behind it and drag straight up through it, because then you just get hung up. So more on the side.
Okay. Okay, absolutely. A little bit of break from the questions, so you guys can get some more. I'm not going to miss them. We're going to come back to it. By winning this tournament, you qualified for a couple of things. You qualified for the Red Crest.
Yeah.
So for those that might not know what the Red Crest is, explain to them what that is and what that means to you, because you said that was the most important of all the things.
Yeah,
the check was nice. The trophy was nice, but the Red Crest.
Yeah.
Tell everybody what the Red Crest is.
It's the championship for the Bass Pro Tour. So it's next to, I think, the Bassmaster Classic, because it's been around, has way more notoriety, but they're on the same level. So you have the Elite Series and the Bass Pro Tour. Those are the two biggest tours, and you have the Bassmaster Classic and the Red Crest. And the Red Crest it's a
big deal.
Yeah, I mean, you're fishing against Van Dam and Wheeler and all those guys, so it'll be.
How's that make you feel?
Just excited to go. It's going to be awesome.
Okay, so that's at Lay Lake.
I don't suck.
No, you won't suck. That's at Lay Lake, right? In Birmingham, Alabama. When is that going to take place? Is it March of next year? Mid-March of next year?
Somewhere right in there, yeah.
So has your mind already started turning on, your plan for that?
I've been thinking about it, but in reality, it's so far out, I'm not really going to worry about it. I'm going to try to spend some time there, like December, January, and just drive over there and get to know the lake, because it'll be off season for tournaments, and I'll just have free time. And I mean, if there's ever a time to go learn a place, it'd be for that one. So I'm definitely, once it gets closer to the event, I'm going to go down there and spend some time. But right now, I mean, it's so far out.
March in Alabama can be, I'm on them, and then the next day, totally change.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I just find it impressive as all get-go that you're going to be fishing amongst those guys. Is this a plan that you've had in your mind, like just a dream that this is what you want to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
haven't ever
set your mind that I want to fish against the best.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I haven't planned it out this way necessarily, but yeah, 100%. The goal's always been to fish professionally and fish for a living.
Well, however it takes to get there, though, you're there.
Just fish for a living, whether that's guiding or working in the industry or fishing on the elites. I just want to be in the industry.
All right. So you also qualified for the 2023 Toyota Championship, correct?
Yeah. I was already qualified for that, though, so it actually bumped down to Matt, which I was hyped for him.
Awesome. So Matt gets to go. When is that?
November 2nd to the 4th on Table Rock.
Okay, awesome. There you go. I want to make sure people understand what an accomplishment this young man has just had. I mean, winning that tournament's one thing, but you're going to fish against the best of the best.
Yeah, it's gonna feel crazy idling out with them.
We're going to ICAST next month, and those guys are going to be walking. Who are you going to be with?
I don't know. I haven't figured that part out yet, but I'm going to be there.
If not, tell me. I'll get you a badge. You can go with us.
That'll work.
I mean, seriously.
No, seriously. Yeah, you can.
We got him. Yeah. I mean, we're retailing.
I haven't even asked anyone yet, but
you want to go?
Yeah.
Let me put it this way: if the important people of the world don't call you to go,
Yes.
let me know. I'll get you a
Whatever.
badge.
Far more important than us.
Mhm.
We can
We're
very
gonna
easily
be
get you
there.
down there.
We're going
All
to be down there begging people for money.
Good question from Kurt here. Get your wheels turning here.
All right.
All right. How important is depth of the bait versus how you attack the day? Do you think people overlook this detail sometimes? Before you answer, I will say yes. What is your answer?
Yes and no, I guess. I don't know. Like in this time of year, like that's hard to like on a sunny, slick day. I guess it's more important because you might catch them on like a spy bait or a Nico rig or a fish head spin. But generally speaking, I prefer to throw something in the top of the water column. Now, a top water versus like a Sebile that rides a foot below the water column, that can make a huge difference. So 100% depth of the bait is important, but both of those things are really important. So
Okay.
all those things.
I always want to say thanks to Ron Swinford for giving us Atlanta Braves updates.
Poor Strider.
Yeah, that's okay. Poor Strider.
All
8-5 in the fourth. All right, pull that question up.
Case and Hamby, if you could only throw one bait in the offshore brush on Hartwell for summer, what would it be?
That's a tough one. Or is it?
It is kind of tough. I mean, I feel like you almost wouldn't want to have that mindset, but a fluke or a swim bait, I guess, or a top water, one of the three.
You try to pull them up like you would on Lanier?
Yeah, same exact deal. Yeah, right. I mean, that changes every day, but I mean, you're probably going to get more bites on a fluke than anything. So
I got to take Danny to Hartwell. He hasn't experienced it.
I haven't experienced Hartwell.
Really?
I've tried to explain to him.
They bite a lot better over there than they do on here.
They do.
Your
Seriously?
fish aren't, they don't get as near as much pressure,
No.
I don't think. You can tell just when you throw at them and the way they react. It's
okay.
See, the main thing with Hartwell, and Emil will tell you this too, Danny, and for those of you guys listening, it's largemouth. Well, what do most people think about when it comes to largemouth? They're fishing shallow. The offshore fish don't really get banged on like they do on like Lanier.
And it's bigger. The points are longer.
It's huge.
There's more places to like Lanier. You can't go down a pointer hump and not see 4 brush piles there. You'll have like a shoal or something. And if you wanted to graft the whole thing, it's got like a couple miles going all the way around it. And there'll be barren sections with no fish and nothing. So a lot of times those fish you find haven't been thrown at nearly as much.
Okay, all right.
Let's run through some more of these
You got to pull up
questions
Scott.
here. Scott Barnes right here. Does it get in your head when you run a few piles and come back and someone else is there?
Not really. Usually, I mean, I guess if it's really tough, like in the fall and you only have a couple good places, it might suck. But at the end, you just run to the next one. And, you know, at the second day at Hartwell, actually, a guy who zeroed the first day was on like the starting spot, like the best spot I had of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I was boat 1 going into that second day because I was the last boat the first day. I ran like 30 minutes down the lake to this place, and he was the only boat that passed me. And he was sitting there. I know he didn't find it, but that sucked. And it almost spun me out, but I just kind of said, screw it, and kept going. And it may have been a blessing in disguise.
Let me ask you this before we get to some other questions. How do you keep from spinning out? What's your mental technique, or you just so laid back that it's like, all right, dude, I'll just go to the next one? Like when you see something,
I'm still getting to where like it just doesn't affect me at all. But like definitely, I think over time you just learn to like, stressing about it or getting mad isn't gonna.
You have enough confidence in yourself that I'll go.
Yeah, like there was enough places to go catch a bass. It wasn't the end of the world, but it still sucks.
Yeah, I got you. All right.
Great question.
Going up.
Go ahead and answer this.
There's another one right above you.
Do you want to get into that one?
No, we don't. Okay.
That's fine.
This one?
Do you plan on fishing?
No, this one. Debt to income. How much money have you made fishing versus how much have you spent tournaments, gas, and gear?
That's a good question.
It is a good question. And I know that, I know Jason Johnson and talking with him from times past, he was kind of telling me, it's not the glamorous life that a lot of people think it is. A lot of those guys are sleeping in their trucks, the lower end guys that are just trying to make a name for themselves. So, how have you experienced that so far?
I mean, at the end of the day, how I always say it is like, if you're not constantly in the money in tournaments, you're losing money. That's just how it is. But I will say this, the Toyota series have been really lucrative this year. I mean, you make a top 10 in those, you make 10 grand minus an entry fee and some expenses, which you can write off. And I mean, you're walking out of there with some pretty good money. So that combined with guiding, the last 2 years have actually been really good. Did
you incorporate yourself? I mean, or have you set up something like Emil Wagner Fishing?
Yeah, I have an LLC.
You have an LLC. Yeah. A lot of those guys do that.
Yeah.
And that's how they were able to write off.
Got to.
Yeah, you
All
about
right, now
have
back
to.
to Jacob Bunce. Do you plan on fishing the Opens EQ?
I haven't
next
made my
year?
mind up yet. It's either going to be that or the invitationals, or I mean, I'm even looking at the MPFL just on a sheer money standpoint, but
The MPFL.
not
Okay.
because, yeah.
Don't you wish you were there this year?
Yeah, that's the thing. Oh my gosh. I
Because
thought about
September and
contacting
the
him.
MPFL, that's going to line up great for you.
Yeah. No, but probably the Opens or the invitationals. I'll have to see the schedule, see what sponsors want to do, and if there's any difference.
Okay.
I doubt there will be.
Well, let me ask you this: how much does, and of course, I don't have any big sponsors, but how much does a sponsor's opinion play as to the direction that you go?
Yeah, I'm still learning a lot of that
Right,
now.
because I know none of that.
Yeah, so a lot of guys will say that a sponsor will pay a lot more on the Elite Series, but financially, just from a straight up entry fee to payout standpoint, I think the BPT is a little bit better. So it's like it's kind of a double-edged sword there, but the Opens and the Invitationals, if we're just being honest, the payouts in them both suck. The Toyotas is actually pretty dang good. It's still not that great, but compared to everything else, it's pretty good.
Okay.
So I really like what I'm doing right now, but you don't want to plateau either. So one of those two for sure.
Absolutely. All right, you're gonna pull up Tyler McGinnis's question right there.
Yep.
Is there one thing you learned from the All American that made you a better fisherman? If so, what was it?
The All American was honestly a culmination of everything I've already learned. I mean, there probably is something I learned there. I'm trying to think about it off the top of my making bait adjustments. I'll say that first day I was literally screwed. And then at 11 o'clock, I made a small adjustment, like a color adjustment, and it made all the difference in the world. So staying open-minded, and I thought about it and I looked down and I like almost didn't get that rod out of the locker. And I think if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have won. So,
Let me ask you this. How about you had a co-angler on your boat?
yeah.
How much discussion goes between you and the co-angler as far as, you sit there, what do you think? Just asking questions.
Just talking to them.
Yeah.
That you got to like read the room there. Cause like some of them are like real weird and won't say anything. And then some of them are like super chatty. And I don't know, if I'm catching them, I'm usually more talkative. If I'm not, I don't say much at all. So it's like, if they want to talk, I'll talk. But sometimes I just won't,
Do you let them kind of dictate that, or do you dictate that? Do they try to talk
I'll
to
let
you
them
first?
do their thing, I guess.
Okay. All right. There you go.
I'm a pretty talkative person. So
yeah, no, you make my job easier. All right, pull up the next question right there. That's a good comment. When are you going to come to Smith and hop on the struggle bus and stop making it look like these fish are easy to catch?
I love Smith. That's my Hartwell and Smith are my two favorite tournament lakes for sure. And I know that's easy to say because I've had success there, but that's the honest to God truth. I love Smith.
I absolutely believe him. Let's see. That's a good question from Mr. O'Connell there. How did us chatting and you finding out that I had 17 with 2 hours to go on day one affect you?
I think he's hinting at a story that I told him about. So I had my buddy Jack Daniels was my roommate that week, and he finished like 15th, so he didn't make the cut. And he was like, "I'm gonna come watch you all day," and like whatever. And I obviously didn't ask him to, but he was kind of managing spectator traffic and like holding everyone back. And I could hear these guys. Like, that's another thing. The last day I had 8 spectator boats, a camera in the boat, and a drone over my head. And it was like a whole different level of stress. And at like noon, I heard him behind me go, "Yeah, I thought what I heard was Matt's got 17. And I thought I had like 15. And this is at like noon. And I can't turn to him and go, 'Yo, did you just say Matt had 17?' Because I can't ask for info from anyone outside the tournament."
Okay.
So that straight up messed me up the rest of the day. And then I lost 2 like really big ones after that. And it probably didn't have anything to do with that. But I think that's what Matt's referring to. And it messed me up pretty good. But what he was really saying was someone asked how much they thought I had. And he was like 16 or 17.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah, that
pull up that Facebook user. One thing about the LLC, you as far as writing off expenses and things like that, if I'm not mistaken, that's all true. But if I'm not mistaken, the LLC also gives you an extra layer of protection as far as liability. So it's not just the write-offs as far as the expenses and everything. There's a whole another world with that. All right, Mr. Barday, haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, wow. If you were fishing a tournament on Allatoona tomorrow, what would your go-to bait be?
He's just messing with me.
I know he is. Absolutely, he is.
I need to ask him that. He won on Monday.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay. So you fished that one.
Yeah.
So you come from winning a major, huge tournament, and then you go to the Monday nighter and you don't win the guys rag you a little bit, just give you a little bit of hard time?
They probably did. I think, yeah, I remember that I weighed in and they were like, you used all your last week or something.
I was just wondering.
Alatuna's like that.
Oh,
You could be
Alatuna's.
Kevin Van Dam and go out there.
Oh, I know. Absolutely.
Do you want to answer that one?
What color's the bill? Did you catch them on? I know it was custom painted. I've read that. Right?
I caught them on a white one and another one.
A white one and another one.
That's how you're going to
get. That's a good answer.
Here's
That's
a question.
A good answer.
If you could only have any co for a day, fisherman or not, who would it be? That's a good question.
It would be me because I can net all his fish.
Probably my buddy Will.
Okay.
He's the one I fish tournaments with. He's comedic relief and just does his deal from the back. He's the perfect partner.
Okay, absolutely. Let's see. There's Kurt. We got a lot of great comments.
Please tell us we won't see you on TV fishing in your underwear like Matt Robinson.
No, that's not me.
Please don't ever do that.
Please don't do that.
And yeah, I know that guy's fantastic.
No, yeah, that's the thing. He does him, and it works for him.
It works for him.
He's a nice refresher for bass fishing.
He is.
Yeah, he is.
Cooper McDonald.
Yep.
Did you think you had it won before the final day weigh-in?
No, the whole ride back, I thought for sure I'd lost.
Are you serious?
So you pulled the Dustin Connell at the Alabama River
literally,
years ago.
literally, 100%. Like my family was there, and I like rolled up to him first thing. I didn't talk to Matt or anything, and I was like, I totally blew it because I had lost. Like they got it on camera. I dumped. Like I should have had at least what I had the day before, and I was like, Matt probably caught 18, 19, 20. I was positive I'd lost, and then I asked Matt what he had. And he told me, and then I knew it would be close. And I don't weigh him; he weighs him, so I didn't even know.
So what's that ride back like? Thinking that you blew it.
It was not fun for that one. So literally, I dumped those two big ones. I was just stressing out, like I was fishing bad. It was not good. And then I ran way up the lake, and then I was already pushing it. And I'm like, I'm gonna stop by one place before that bridge, before you get into the river. And I stopped on that place. I threw out there. They were there, and I broke one off first cast, and I took my rod and just threw it on the deck. Like I was mad, and we just rode in, and it was. You're
pretty laid back, so
I am.
You are very laid back. It's kind of hard for me to picture you mad.
The last day, like I had a meltdown the last 2 or 3 hours. It was bad.
Hey Ryan, real quick, we're about halfway. Can you shout out another one of our fine sponsors, real quick?
Absolutely, we sure can.
Pull that banner up.
We want to get up here with Jason Sayers and. With J&S Contracting and Elite Pressure Washing Services. Jason Sayers services the Lake Country. For those of you guys who do not know what the Lake Country is, that is Sinclair, Oconee, down that area.
Oh, yeah.
That is where Jason's at. Emil's very familiar with the Lake Country, as many of us also are. And, of course, he also has Elite Landscaping and Pressure Washing. So give Jason a call for any of your landscaping, any of your remodeling, new build services at 706-816-2049. Reach out to him at jsayers@live.com or give him a call again at 706-816-2049. That is Mr. Jason Sayers, a friend of ours and a friend of the show, and we appreciate him. Danny?
You look good back there. Paul's going to look really good back.
All right, we're back. We're back.
All right, guys. So again, hey, welcome to Life at Marble Hill, Georgia. Internet here is terrible, but we do have fiber.
Computer off upstairs.
There we're here. This sucks.
All right, go ahead, go for it. I'm gonna go around upstairs real quick.
He's gonna go up there and check it again. we apologize. It's just, hey, TDS, we've tried everything. Just the internet up here is terrible. So I'm going to recap real quick while Ryan's going up there to check the router and everything. So we got Emil in the house, 25 years old from Marietta, Georgia. Just won the Phoenix Bass Fishing League All American Championship presented by TH Marine. We got to give TH Marine their shout out as a sponsor. This past week at Seneca, South Carolina on Lake Hartwell. He qualified for the Red Crest 24 on Lay Lake. That's Birmingham, Alabama, March 13th through 17th. That is the end all of end all. That's on the Bass Pro Tour. That is the Daytona 500 on that. And he had qualified previously for the 2023 Toyota Series Championship, but since this, it was able to pass down to your buddy Matt O'Connell.
Yep.
All right, and so that's pretty awesome. So, guys, that's a good question. When are you going to cut your hair?
Never.
Listen, to be quite honest, he's one of the better looking guys that have ever been on this show. And if my daughters weren't spoken for already, I'd be kind of really working you a little bit on that. So, but absolutely. So, we're gone. We're back. So anyway, right now, it's all going to be on me until Ryan gets back here. So you guys bear with us. I know a lot of you probably went, we're gone. But you can hear Emil. So I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. You keep talking. Are you back? Are we good?
Back.
Are we good now?
We should be good to go.
We should be good to go. So anyway, Ron Swinford says congrats on the Red Crest. How long have you been fishing what I would say professionally? And working your way up. When did that start?
Probably 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been fishing my whole life. Like I've been fishing tournaments since 9th grade. But I guess I don't know. I guess I consider Toyota as like at least approaching that level, and that's only been this year.
Okay.
So before that, just BFLs and local stuff and everything I could get into.
So you're flying up. You're flying it, man. Yeah, I know. I thought that was kind of interesting when we were talking to you. I just got through fishing a tournament. I'm like, damn, this kid don't stop.
Oh, yeah, it's a drug for sure.
Oh, absolutely. So Farmer wanted to know, I don't think we have any questions until Farmer right there. How do you approach practice to find 50 spots to try and rotate through? And are they in close proximity or good runs between the holes?
Ideally, they're in close proximity, but that's not always how it works out. So, like, there may be a hot end of the lake, like especially Lanier can get like that. Like down by the dam will be really good one day, and then if it's really tough, they might be eating like right above Brown's really good. So I'll kind of try to test as much as I can, and then once you find like a productive zone, like really break that down and find as much good stuff in that area as you can.
Okay. Ryan, are we on the old Wi-Fi?
Yes.
Okay, guys, so if you're watching this and it's gone a little fuzzy or something, we apologize. It won't be too much longer. We're going to be done with this situation.
Should be okay right now. The same situation as we did last week.
Yeah, we're sorry about that. You know, when we got a celebrity in the house, and I hate it. It's embarrassing. Well, it does. It happens here a lot. So pull that question up for me there, Ryan. What are some tips for offshore fishing without spot lock?
I almost never use spot lock. You don't need it at all, even in the wind. Like there are very few times I use it. It's more of a convenience thing when you catch one and you want to spot lock and get your stuff set back up and retie, something like that. But you absolutely do not need spot lock to fish offshore.
Okay.
We did it for years without.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I guess.
I'll say on a place like let's say you're on the TVA and you were sitting on one ledge school for a couple hours. There it might be more important, but here it's so, you're fishing a place for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. You really don't need it.
Okay.
The fish move so much.
All right. Pull up Derek O's thing. Sometimes it feels like a 48-hour feeding cycle, one banger day, one lame day repeat. Is that accurate, or is a lame day just the fisherman not adjusting correctly?
I feel like all week it's pretty ridiculous if you're talking about Lanier, and then the weekends are obviously tough because they don't pull water and all the extra fishing pressure. But there's usually different feeding zones every day. I've noticed on Lanier, there's always a lull sometime between 9 and 12. It kind of changes all the time. But like we fished all day from 7 till 3 today. And I think from 10 till like 12:30, we maybe caught 4. But then before that and after that, it was ridiculous. So there's definitely feeding windows. But at some point every day, there's a time to crush them.
Okay. Ty Overmeyer, I think this is really kind of,
he's just messing.
He's just blowing some smoke, like that. When can I get your autograph? Well, I tell you what, We might get your autograph and raffle it off or something like that. Let me ask you.
Anyone would want it.
Oh yeah, no, dude, you're the real deal. Now let me ask you this. Not so much pros or anything, but are there guys that you have gotten acquainted to fishing that are really high level guys that you've talked to? I mean, you don't have to name drop, but do some of the pros look at you and say, oh, dude, you're pretty good, or congratulations? Yeah. Have you experienced any of that?
Yeah, I definitely had a few guys like comment or reach out or like follow that I would have never expected. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
A couple guys I've, watched since I was little. So it's definitely cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you name drop one?
Justin Lucas. That's one of them.
Dude, that's pretty cool. Absolutely. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
How's that Phoenix holding up?
Are you a 721 now?
Yeah, I'm on my third 721. That boat's
my man.
I love it.
That's what you got, right, Ryan?
That is the best damn Phoenix made.
It's a good mix of everything. The storage is awesome. It's fast. It rides good.
Yes. It cuts waves so much better than 920.
If you need one, go to Bay Marine.
There you go. We dropped out Bay Marine right there. Absolutely.
They've got one on the floor right now. It's badass.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
There you go. I like it right there.
Solid black one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've seen it?
I've seen pictures of it.
I've seen pictures of it. All right, pull up that next question. By Bayless Creek Ramp, do you feel that there's more largemouth? I do.
Now
we're talking Lake Lanier,
but Bayless Creek seems to be a pretty good largemouth creek, just when you're talking about the South End in general. But I mean, the further north you go, the more largemouth typically.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. There seems like there's more and more showing up every year. Like last fall, there was a bunch of big ones weighed in. I caught some big ones in some tournaments, and they might be making a little bit of a comeback. I doubt it'll ever be like Hartwell is, but
nah.
Well, you've noticed that, Ryan.
There's plenty by the ramp right there.
You've noticed you've seen more largemouth, or you're at least saying the largemouth on Lanier are coming back.
The largemouth on Lanier are coming back. There's no doubt about it. It used to be harder to catch them, and now you're starting to see more and more and more 2-pounders, 3-pounders, which is a sign, obviously, that the population is growing.
Mm-hmm.
When you start getting that lower class, that's starting to get bigger and growing up and getting much larger. It's Lanier, I believe it's never going to be a pure largemouth lake like Hartwell, where Hartwell, it's certainly, I think Emil will say this, I don't think he's going to be catching a 6-pound largemouth on the main lake and on Lanier in a tournament and be like, I'm going to throw that thing back.
If it happens, it's luck. Yeah.
Right.
So
let's pull up Ron's question right there. It's a good one. So many people overlook boat position. When you pull up to a brush pile or a rock pile fishing offshore, how do you prefer to position your boat to the fish piles?
That depends. Like if the wind's blowing, I always like to throw into the wind, although it's a bigger pain in the butt. You present the bait a lot more naturally, but I always try to stop, come in quietly. So come in, 200, 250 feet before whatever you want to fish, and don't come in there just blazing hot. So definitely super important to have your boat set up right.
All right, let me ask you this. You're 25.
Yeah.
All right. So I call you kid, but you seem to have a lot of experience. Who influenced you the most as far as teaching? Did somebody mentor you into this, or is this just stuff you found out on your own?
I mean, I can't lie and say there wasn't people who maybe helped me along the way, but honestly, I never really had a mentor. Or
okay.
I mean, I've gotten to know people later on, but growing up, no. I mean, especially in high school, like everyone had, captains that fished, and like my dad's caught like maybe one bass in his life. My high school partner's dad doesn't fish that much.
So you learned on the run. You did it. Okay. Hey, very cool right there. I don't hunt. Is that how you
stunt?
I don't stunt, whatever. Yeah. How'd you get your first one? And this is going back to the Phoenix.
My first Phoenix, I had a Skeeter to start, 2001 ZX 190. I remember we paid $9,200 for it. I had $4,600 in my savings. My dad said he'd match any dollar I saved up. That's how I got my first one. And then I saved a bunch of money up while I had that boat, sold it for more than I bought it for, added the money I had and got that first Phoenix. It was used and just out of warranty, and I got a really good deal on it. And then I sold that first Phoenix I had, which was well used, and I sold it right when the boat market was like stupid at its way peak, and I think I sold it for like 8,000 more than I bought for it, and there was guys begging for it.
Oh my goodness!
So I got that one, and then I had money saved up from working at Pure Fishing for a year, and I bought my first new one.
That sounds like good business to me right there. I got a local question right here. Which area of Lanier was on fire today, or was it the whole lake?
Everything below Browns. Yeah.
South
There
end
was
on
little
fire.
zones that were better than others. Like you'd get into like a little dead zone, and then you get into another zone, and it was like bam, bam, bam. But you can't. It's not like oh, they're biting in Baldridge or they're biting in 6 Mile. They're biting everywhere on the south end somewhere. You just gotta.
So do you prefer spotted bass or largemouth bass? As far as if you could go catch either one, which
I mean,
would
if you
go?
put me in a tournament, obviously, just because that's my number one expertise, I'd prefer spots. But I love both of them. I mean, catching those largemouth at Hartwell was awesome. But I mean, that's also doing a spotted bass thing,
right?
But like we went to Okeechobee this year.
Mm-hmm.
That was a blast. I caught the second day. I had 2 6-pounders punching and on a chatterbait, and then we went to Harris Chain, caught them on a worm out in some isolated eelgrass. That was super fun. I like it all.
You know what I like about this kid, Ryan? Is like he talks like he's been fishing for 50 years.
He does.
I mean, just listening to you, you sound like you've been fishing for 50 years. I love it. Derek O, any tips for targeting largies versus just stumbling across them? And would you consider Lanier or Allatoona your home? I mean,
Lanier.
Okay, so let's just take Lanier. Targeting large.
If you're going to target them on Lanier, Ryan, you'd probably agree with this. You have to be on the bank. You're never going to target them offshore, really, at least from my experience. But
yeah, you're starting to get some go on the main lake, but they're unicorns.
Fall, but even then, it seems like it's luck. The only way to truly go, I'm going to catch a big one, is on the bank.
Yeah, most of
you do it more than I do.
Most of the big ones that I've caught have been in the dirt.
Yeah.
Whether it's main lake in the dirt or in the back of a pocket in the dirt. The largemouth, on Lanier, they're still heavy brim eaters. They're still really heavy on the brim, and there's some that are starting to gravitate toward the main lake and starting to act like Hartwell fish. There's a how do I put this? There's a conspiracy theory that I don't agree with, that I have a few of my friends that say this, that people are taking largemouth from Hartwell and putting them in Lanier.
I highly doubt that.
Yeah, I think it's a
I don't know who would actually take their
total conspiracy theory, in my opinion. But
I don't agree with that one.
But I'll say this just to sum it up: if you're going to target largemouth on Lanier, your best bet is something moving in reaction.
Yeah,
and
they're actually. I'll be honest, the ones on the bank rarely ever get messed with. So if you find them, they're honestly usually not that hard to catch. But it's just the spots have gotten so big offshore that it's hard to compete and be consistent on the bank. But if you do find them up there, like, go fish for them for sure.
Okay. It's a good way to get a kicker.
Yeah.
Which one are you gonna pull up next?
All right, so
you guys have great comments tonight. This is fantastic.
All right. So
pull up Connor's right there.
There. Do
Good
you prefer
question.
offshore or shallow? I think you just answered that question.
I really like them both, but I mean, if I had to pick one, offshore.
Offshore.
I would say you probably, if you were told you couldn't fish shallow anymore, I think you would still thrive offshore.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be okay.
You'd be at home.
Yeah.
Like me, you take me and try to say I can't fish shallow anymore, I'll just be like,
like we went to Harris.
Boats for sale.
Yeah. Like we went to Harris Chain in Florida, and I fished offshore the whole time. So I guess that answers that.
All right. This is a good question right there. When are you going to get on some smallmouths up north?
Next week. I just signed up for the Lake Champlain Toyota Series yesterday.
Seriously?
It's an 18-hour drive. I wasn't going to do it, but I was like, if I'm ever going to do this thing full time, I might as well figure it out. So I just called and signed up.
See, that's the beauty of being 25 too. You can just do whatever the hell he wants to do. I love it like that. So, okay, well, how about this? Have you ever fished up there?
Nope.
So you're going in blind.
Oh, okay.
You're just going to go fish.
So what is your PB smallmouth then? Have you caught some?
I went to Cumberland once in the fall, and it was like the lowest weights I've ever seen at a tournament. Like 10 pounds a day, made the top 10 out of 250. And I caught one for something, but it was like a total unicorn. But I've never really caught smallmouth ever.
So you're kind of looking at this tournament as, okay, yeah, it's a tournament, but it's also a chance to get to do something I've never done.
Yeah, and the fishing up there's so good. I feel like I could go up there and miss the cut, and it'd still be an awesome fishing trip. So,
right.
I mean, it's all good. That was a lot of the Toyotas this year were learning experiences, and they ended up going well. So.
What are you going to do if you get up there and it's like how that Elite Series was on the St. Lawrence River last year, where you go in there and roll in with 25 pounds of smallmouth and you're not even in the cut?
I don't think Champlain has that kind of capability from what I've seen, but
there's some big ones in Champ.
No, I know, but it seems like over there, like 18, 19, 20 a day, you're sitting pretty good. That would be cool. That'd be super cool. It means they're biting good.
How much have you studied the lake?
I haven't at all yet.
This is going to be great. I'm going to keep up with this. This is going to be awesome.
He will.
Pull this one up. Yeah, there you go. What's your favorite game plan and your go-to bait for Allatoona? Now, he's not going to give you his juice, but
no, but I mean that lake's kind of stupid. Like you'll go,
yeah,
like
careful.
you can go win it. You can go win a Tuesday nighter and catch a lucky 5-pounder on a top water on the bank, and then go offshore and catch a 3-pound spot and maybe a whatever keeper, and you blow it out. You go do the same thing the next night and catch nothing.
Yeah.
So if I had to pick one bait there, I'd say shaky head, but that is a tough place to be consistent on, but that's kind of why I like it. It's very junk fishy. It's very scrappy.
All right. Ron Swinford's got another great question here. What is one of the most overlooked techniques on Lanier or tuna for kicker-sized fish? Something that's overlooked.
I don't know anything overlooked.
Buzz bait.
Yeah, on fishing the bank. Yeah, but that's not overlooked on Allatoona. But on Lanier, fishing the bank, I guess, is overlooked.
Trust is Ryan's a unicorn on Lanier.
Yeah.
Everybody else, Ryan's throwing in 6 inches of water. Everybody else is in 30.
I mean, the big bait, that's the craze right now. So that's definitely not overlooked anymore, but like a big glide bait or something like that.
How about this? What is.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, let's talk about you as far as like technique. What's your number one technique that you think, all right, this is my go-to, I'm the best, this is my best, and what is something that you really, in your mind, because apparently you don't suck at anything, but it's something you got to improve on. What's something you got to improve on, and what is your absolute, I know I can wax them?
Fishing brush offshore. I did it at Eufaula, I do it at Lanier, did it at Hartwell.
That's your strength.
That's number one. But then the one I'm not, like day one at Guntersville, that was my one like pretty bad event this year. Like monotonously going down a grass line where there's nothing like precise or high percentage to it. I don't feel like it's necessarily that I'm not good at it. I just don't like doing it.
Gotcha.
But then like at Harris Chain, I was fishing grass, but it was like very specific. There was like 2 or 3 clumps offshore that I was fishing. So it was like, I felt like I was throwing at fish every time. But on Guntersville, you almost just had to like burn a trap and a chatterbait down miles of grass to get bit. And that's not my favorite thing.
That's not your
style. I could use some work there.
Well, as our buddy says, that don't turn him on.
No, it don't.
That's right. Yeah, we got a buddy up here, and he's like, we were talking about something, and we're like, have you thrown this? And he goes, that just don't turn me on.
Yeah.
So there you go. Let's see. Pull that one up there. So I know you're used to offshore, but when you target largemouth, would you say that the baits differ than what spots like? I would imagine they do.
Yeah, like Eufaula, like you're not going to throw a fluke or a topwater over a brush pile on Eufaula and get anything to come up. There, it's more like your largemouth, or like big worm. Like I was throwing a 1 ounce spinnerbait at Eufaula, a jerkbait, a drop shot, which that goes hand in hand. But typically, your largemouth, you're not going to be able to call up as well. But the spots, you're going to be able to get them. They'll see a bait from 20 feet down, and that's just water clarity too. But
right,
yeah, definitely different baits.
Okay, what kind of water clarity do they have up north? Do you know?
It's pretty clear.
Pretty clear. Yeah, everybody says it's clear. So
I don't think it's like St. Lawrence clear on Champlain, but it's clear.
Clear. Do you throw big glide baits?
No, I try to get into it this year. I have a Chad and a couple other ones, but I haven't. Just it's been so tournament heavy this year, and that's I feel like when you throw that, a lot of times you see a lot more fish than you catch. So I haven't. There's guys who have it super dialed in, and I haven't gotten there yet. I would like to learn it.
All right. So Mr. Harold Grizzle, I love bank fishing, won many tournaments. Of course you have. And he also says congratulations to you. Byron Hendricks wants to know, did you link for Champaign?
Yes, I did. My buddy's driving up with me, and we're going to split the drive and do it in one day.
Okay, there you go. Ron Swinford, you'll have a ball with the smallies. Just imagine fishing for a fish that has not seen another bait all year.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
So yeah, because really the they're froze so much.
Yeah.
They have such a short fishing window.
Everyone I hear of up there, just the only thing I ever hear is how stupid it is. So that's why I'm saying like it's
Absolutely.
gonna be fun either way.
Do you crank for spots?
Yeah, when it's cold, I throw crankbait a lot.
Are you like the rest of us? You pulling out the Spro, the
Yeah,
rock crawler?
The rock crawler's a great one.
You throw the rock crawler?
If you need one to throw, that's
They
that's the
piss
one.
out of that thing.
Yeah,
There's something about a rock
I
crawler.
went to several
spots.
different spots.
I don't know what it is, and
congratulations
congratulations to Spro. You got a winner right there with the rock crawler. But there's something about that bait at the right time of the year that just absolutely waxes everything. You guys keep your questions coming in. You're making my job easy like that. So Champlain, how many different lakes do you think you'll fish this year? We're early June till you get to the Red Crest. You know, you're going up north. Are you staying mostly in the southeast United States or?
Yeah. So there's obviously I'm going up to that one. If it goes well, I may mess around and fish the other two northern Toyotas, which is on Potomac River and St. Lawrence, which would obviously be some big trips. I don't know if I'm going to do that yet, but other than that, for sure on the schedule, Hartwell 2-day BFL and the Lanier 2-day BFL. Those are the last two in those regular season tournaments. And then 2 regional championships for the BFLs. That'll be on Norman in North Carolina in the fall. I'm excited for that one. And Eufaula, Alabama in the fall, all close by. And then the Toyota Series Championship on Table Rock.
Okay.
So that'll probably be the furthest drive other than if I fish the Northern Toyota.
Right. You ever throw a 6XD any?
Not around here really, but I do. Like if I was to go to Eufaula or somewhere like that, I definitely would.
Okay. How about offshore? Do you throw cranks offshore? What are your 5 favorite baits for fishing brush? I guess color matters, but you just give us a few.
That depends on time of year and all that stuff. But I guess swim bait, shaky head, top water, fluke, swim bait. I mean, I don't know how else to answer that.
That's funny.
That's what I'm saying. I use this bait.
There's really not that many secret baits. I feel like people think there is, but there's really not.
I think just listening to you, sometimes, like you said, it's making the adjustments on the color.
Yeah.
Small little detail. The answer's in the details.
Let me say this.
Yeah.
This guy right here, for those of you watching and listening, he's got it right here. It is between here.
Is that where it is? But I think that's where a lot of guys mess up, is when it gets between their ears. Because like you're just saying, they overthink it. You know, there's really not really any secret baits out there.
Yeah, it's just time on the water and seeing things happen over and over again and just micro adjustments throughout the day. Wind picking up, sun behind the clouds, like little things like that, and knowing how to adjust throughout the day.
Well, how about this? Of course, I believe that's our buddy Brett. That's Bass Fishing Live, right? That's Brett Matthews. Brett. Do you ever sleep? I know Brett does. I'm surprised Brett's still up.
The week of the All American was the least I've ever slept in my life. The night before I drove up for the first day of practice, I slept 2 hours, and then it was 3 to 4 hours every night that week. I could not sleep.
I was getting to ask you, do you get a good night's sleep? Because even in an electric only tournament, Ryan will tell you, I could not sleep.
Yeah, the Toyota, anything else I did that week, I could not sleep for the life of me, which is not normal. But
well, you're fishing for quite a bigger payday than I am on my electric only club like that. So I would get a little nervous. Now, how about this? Is it nervousness? Expecting like I don't want to fail, or is it excitement? There's a difference. Because you got a little bit of both.
Your mind's just racing the whole night. You're thinking about where you want to. I always think about like when I'm done with a tournament day, I just want it to be the next morning and get it to go again, because you have all those thoughts of like, is my boat going to break down? Are my batteries going to charge? Are these places going to work out? It's just a million things running through your head. At least that's how it works for me.
Have you experienced any boat problems or anything?
Yeah, this year it's been a bunch of random things that have been out of my control. But yeah, day one of the All American, my boat threw like 5 alarms. I didn't think I was going to make it back. I had to call a buddy. We trailed each other back to the weigh-in, and that's happened at like 3 or 4 events. That Mercury has not been too sweet to me this year.
Okay, I understand. They're moody. They're like women.
Yeah.
But if you're a female watching that is not the opinion of Fish North Georgia. That's just a little quip right there. What we pulling at? What would be the top 3 patterns for summer fishing Lake Lanier?
It's going to sound redundant, but top water, flukes and swim baits, and if they're not coming up, an underspin or a shaky head. And then if you want to do something else, I mean, I remember a couple of Junes ago, want to say it was 2 years ago. We got on a really good brim bed bite, just throwing like a popper and a buzz bait in little short pockets. And I mean, Lanier's such a good, healthy lake. There are so many options. I mean, you can catch fish literally everywhere. But in the summer, I'm gonna be offshore.
Okay. I noticed Dylan had a comment about it freezing again. If it's the internet, let me tell you guys this: that tomorrow I'll be downloading this. I'll be cutting out the parts. And this is going to go on Spotify and iTunes. So if you want to listen to it again, wherever you're working or playing or whatever, you won't have to watch the slow internet. You'll be able to listen to it. So hopefully the audio is just fine. So what we got next there, Mr. Ryan? On TVA lakes, what are you doing the same and what are you doing different?
I don't have a ton of TVA experience.
Did I say that wrong?
Pretty limited, but
no, I was just saying that's a different monster.
Yeah, that's something I need to learn more about, and it's not something I'm necessarily great at yet. But there, it's a lot more like Lanier. You have a group of fish, and they're going to eat quick. There, it's like you might sit on a spot for a while and wait till you get them to fire up. So, it's every lake is so different, and that's what's crazy about this sport is it's a different set of rules everywhere you go.
Right. Cranking, there's a question out there. Thoughts on 10-foot plus cranking? Because I'll tell you this, I have zero confidence throwing anything other than a rock crawler.
Yeah, I mean, even a rock crawler goes down 12 or 13.
Yeah,
but I guess that's not much past 10. But like your deep ones.
Do you do that a lot?
Yeah, on Lanier, like I found you get less bites on them, but you can catch some really, really big ones on them certain times a year, usually in the winter. But I mean, they play everywhere, especially offshore, like the TVA. You see a ledge tournament, there's always guys catching them on 6XDs, 10XDs, stuff like that. So,
what's your favorite crankbait out there other than a rock crawler? If you're going to go,
this is not
deep.
a sponsor plug, I promise.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
The 6 cents 300 DD is an incredible crankbait. It's a 7. They have it labeled as 17 to 19 foot, which is actually pretty accurate. And that was something I threw all the time, even before getting on with them. And for whatever reason, I catch a lot of big ones on that.
Okay, there you go. Hey, you can plug your sponsors. It's not a big deal at all. Are you approaching Hartwell in the fall kind of the same way, offshore on the brush and breaks, or do you go shallow? This is Hartwell in the fall.
Still offshore usually. There will be, you still have your wolf pack shallow. Like Ryan, you can attest to that too. But you'll still have a lot of fish wolf pack in the bank. And if you can find those, it's a great way to catch a kicker. But for me personally, I'd still prefer to be offshore.
That offshore bite in the fall is highly overlooked.
Yeah. It's a lot harder to find them. But
when you do,
it's way more of a grind, but there are some really big ones.
That's what I was saying. But when you do,
okay,
you'll get heavy in a hurry.
All right, let's pull up next one from Mr. Jacob right here. Do you avoid the humps and points with reef marker poles on Allatoona and try to find and fish ones without poles, or fish them like everyone else? I guess, are you fishing the community holes?
Well, no, like that's like I remember one we fished. It wasn't the last Monday nighter. We had an off week for Memorial Day. The one before that, we caught a lot of the ones we weighed off a point with a pole marker on it, but you could hit 6 other ones and there was nothing on them, but this one had, they were absolutely loaded on it. So definitely don't ignore those.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just a lot more of, you just got to look at them all, and usually there's
gotcha.
That are good.
Do you throw a rig?
Yeah, how about the A rig?
I got into it this year. I honestly, for spotted bass, I don't really like it. I think it's too clear, and I'm sure there's guys who catch them on it, but it's not my favorite.
Not your thing.
You need to go up river.
And you can't throw it on the Pro Tour anyway, so it's like I wouldn't want to get too comfortable with it.
Yeah, that's perfect sense.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
I like this question right here. When should someone start fishing tournaments?
As soon as you can. I don't think there's any too young of an age or too low of a skill level. I fished them before I had any business fishing tournaments. Scott, that's what Scott's post was about. I fished the Greater Atlanta Bass Club when I was like 15 and had just bought my boat and had zero clue what I was doing. So I say go for it whenever you can. Yeah, whether it's your dad taking you or you going by yourself, or go for it.
You got to start sometime.
We say this all the time. There is nothing wrong with learning experience.
No, like our first ever high school tournament, the trolling motor fell off the front of the boat. Literally, the whole trolling motor fell off. We had it laying on the front deck. We zeroed. We swamped the boat. We lost fish. It was the biggest disaster you could imagine. And it's like we still learn from it.
That's right.
So.
That's right. I like that.
All right.
All right. What's our next one there, Ryan? When you're targeting shad in the fall, will you push up into the back of pockets when you find bass chasing shad. So how far up in the back of that pocket will you go?
All the way to the back if that's where they're at. It's so easy to find them now with side scan and live scope. So it's like it doesn't take, I feel like, as long to find bait and whatnot. But yeah, in the fall, there's definitely times where they go all the way to the back. And that goes back to that wolf pack thing. You'll catch some big largemouth way in the backs of the pockets. And same with schooling fish. You'll see schooling fish in the way back of the pockets in the creek. So
let me ask you this: as far as electronics go, everybody uses the live, all that stuff. But you mentioned side imaging, down scan, any of that stuff. Of the other stuff like that, how much does it play in your game? Like, do you use side imaging as you go in a pocket?
Yeah, I use side imaging a lot, especially when I'm on a new lake. If you just keep it on, I turn it off during the tournament because I think the extra ping pulls them to your boat and it lets them know you're there. But I always keep it on because let's say you're getting off pad going into a pocket or something, you might be like, oh, there's a brush pile I would have never known about unless I really sat down and tried to look for it. And you can be a lot more efficient using your side scan. So if I'm just trying to find an area with bait or with a certain water temperature or just something more general, I use the side and down scan.
How far out do you typically keep your
80 to 100?
Okay.
Yeah. And what brand do you use?
I have a Lowrance and a Humminbird. They both have the side and down scan transducers. I think Humminbird has a better side scan. Lowrance, I run the two Lowrances. This is the first year I've run them. The waypoint management is way better on them, and that's really the only reason I run them. But the side scan and the down scan specifically on a Lowrance seems to be a lot better. But the side scan on both of them is good, but I would give the edge to a Humminbird. The main reason I have a Humminbird on the boat is for Lake Master. I can never have a boat without.
And so your forward facing is what?
Garmin. So I have all
Garmin. So you have all three.
Yeah.
That's interesting right there. Have you tried any of the others, or you've always been a Garmin guy?
Yeah, I think I don't.
Okay. Say what you feel.
The Garmin's by far the best.
Okay, that's fine.
In my opinion, the Active Target's good too, and
I think it's Garmin, Active Target, Mega Life.
Yeah.
Okay.
In that order.
Yeah,
that's
I
what
would say
think.
the same thing.
Okay.
But I think Hummingbird's late to the market too, so I'm sure they have some kinks to work out and whatnot.
Okay. Do you ever target bridges and seawalls?
Yeah, during the herring spawn, for sure.
Is that kind of exclusive to that time of year, or
sometimes in the summer, seawalls too? They'll be around them, not because of a herring spawn, just because they're on them. But when the herring spawn, they're always on bridges and seawalls. And I mean, we watched when Bradley Holman, when the FLW tour came through, he kind of blew the whole seawall thing out of the water, but he won fishing seawalls, I think in late March. And I feel like they haven't been that great since, but there's always big spots.
They're pounded.
I need to get with him. He told me he would come on the show.
Bradley Holman?
I talked to him.
He'd be a great guy. Yeah.
I would have to remote him in, of course, because he's out of state, but I need to reach out to him.
There you go.
That would be good. All right, pop
two
that
baits
up.
Probably close to your heart: whale or divine.
Divine for sure.
Divine
a ton.
What is the divine?
I mean, if everyone knows what a Kitech is, it's that same kind of deal. They make a 2.7. I throw a lot in the wintertime on like a light 3/16 or quarter ounce jig head. And then you're asking about the A-rig earlier. I have thrown it a decent bit on other lakes, and I'll throw like the 3.3 or the 3.8s on it. It's a good underspin trailer too, but definitely the divine if I had to pick between the two.
Okay. All right. That's excellent. Pull up you guys, your questions are fantastic tonight. If you're not getting bit, do you typically make small adjustments with a technique first, or just pick up a different rod and throw something else completely?
That depends. Like if you're on Lanier and they should be on a certain bait, you might want to make small adjustments. But if you're somewhere new and you don't even know what they're eating in the first place, you might want to make a bigger adjustment. But that's kind of a tough question to answer.
I guess it just depends on the day, where you're at and everything. What do you find yourself doing mostly though? Are you quicker to change a color, or just say this bait's not working?
Usually quicker to just totally change baits. That's why that thing at Hartwell was kind of crazy with the color.
Because you don't normally do that.
I will, but it's like I haven't seen it make that big of a difference. Usually I feel like if they're not eating something, it's a totally different bait.
Are you one to kind of force the fish into, I'm going to throw this, they're going to eat it? Are you pretty stubborn? They
should be on it, yeah.
Yeah, are you stubborn? That's what
you don't want to be too stubborn, so it's just a happy
okay,
medium.
I got you. Let's pull up Connor's right there. It's another good question. What length and action and ratio are you using rod for top water? You may have answered, but I wasn't in here then. So
that's a a 7-foot medium heavy action. I throw a crankbait rod right now. It's a Dobbins Champion 705 CB. I've got a bunch of these old Lew's deep spool BB1s, so you can fit a ton of braid on them. I throw 50-pound braid on that. A lot of the new reels, if you put 50-pound braid on them, you can throw the entire spool out. So I keep those exclusively for cranking and top water. I do that 50-pound braid. And that's pretty much it. 7 or 8 to 1 reel.
So far I've heard you've got an NRX that you said, what was it?
It's all G Loomis and Dobbins.
G Loomis and Dobbins, except for the one winch. Right.
Yeah, except for that.
Okay. All right. There you go. All right. So what we got here? How do you have confidence on offshore brush on Allatoona with the fish moving so much day to day, especially in the afternoon, night, 4-hour tournaments, especially in those late evening tournaments? How do you have confidence?
Well, you're going to get on Allatoona, you're going to get bit in almost every single one. It's just a matter of finding a good one. So, I mean, I guess you just have confidence because you're going to get bit in most of the ones you pull up on. And then, you kind of, what I always suggest, like on somewhere like Allatoona, it's pretty small. So you can go out there and graph a full day and you can fish a lot of those piles and you'll get an idea of which ones have, some of them, for example, will have like 40 fish in them, but they're all tiny. And then some of them might not have as many, but they're really good ones. So I guess it's just doing it over time.
I got a question totally off thing. Do you have any like regular tennis shoes? Because every picture we ever see, you've got flip flops on.
Yeah, no, we
were saying that the other day. I said, Emil's, his flip flop game is strong.
Yeah, as soon as it gets warm enough to wear flip flops, I'm either barefoot or in flip flops. Like now till November.
I know.
In the wintertime, I wear tennis shoes.
Okay, we were just wondering. That was actual conversation in the shop the other day. I said, he's always in flip flops, so I like that. So, how many casts will you make at a brush pile before moving?
That kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. It varies. So sometimes it's just a couple, 4, 5, 6. But on Hartwell, I was making a lot of casts on them because there might have been multiple schools, or for whatever reason, it was like it took them a while before they saw your bait. So again, don't pigeonhole yourself there by any means.
And sometimes you pull up, you scan, you don't see nothing, and you just go.
Yeah, yep. And again, that goes back to like there's never like a definite answer to any of this stuff.
As
much as I want to give it.
Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see. Have you tried the Dobbins 730? What is it? 733. I think it was built to be a spook.
No,
rod.
I have the 734s. I have several of. They're really good all around rods. That's what I throw. Like you can throw buzzbait, chatterbait, spinnerbait, all that stuff on them.
If you had only one rod company that you could fish with for the rest of your life right now, what would it be?
Loomis, probably. That's a tough one. I don't know. I guess Loomis, just because it's good quality. But
you like the Dobbins?
Yeah, I like them all. I think, that's a tough one to answer.
It is a tough one.
Yeah,
I gotta throw a hard one.
I could go either way.
Okay, yeah. I got you that. You guys keep the questions coming. Appreciate the Braves commentary.
Let's acknowledge Kurt Wehunt. Yes, there's spot tails in Lake Lanier. Kurt Wehunt.
Okay, yeah. Toughest lake you've ever fished?
That's a good question.
How about in a tournament aspect? In a tournament, what's the toughest lake?
Okeechobee, when we went down there. So it was crazy. When we went, it was literally the lowest weights ever at a major tournament. It was absolutely terrible. And then 3 weeks later, it went from the lowest weights ever on Okeechobee to the best weights ever. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. But
what was tough about it?
It was hard to literally catch a 12-inch bass. It was incredible. I mean, to put it in perspective,
what time of year? What time of year was it?
It was April.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be good, but it wasn't. I mean, I think a lot of that had to do with they sprayed all the grass so the water wasn't clean, and fish there like clean water. The whole lake looked like crap. But the first day I had, I think 9 or 10 pounds, and on Okeechobee, that's like saying 6 pounds on Lanier or something, or 9 or 10. But the second day I had 4 fish for 13 and a half. And I missed the top 25 cut by 3 ounces in a 200-something boat field on Lake Okeechobee. So that was really, really tough on a lake that's supposed to be good.
What's the best lake you've ever fished?
Lanier.
Okay, take Lanier out of it. Yeah, take Lanier out of it. Lanier is just the crown jewel of North Georgia. I understand that, but
Hartwell.
Hartwell.
Yeah, Hartwell's incredible. Again, the spots aren't as big, but you have the largemouth to make up for it. And the fish just bite really, really good over there. So I'd say Hartwell. Lanier and Hartwell are both incredible.
One lake that you haven't fished that you want to fish?
Any of those northern lakes, Champlain, St. Lawrence
Going
River.
north
Yeah.
and all that.
Excited for that whole swing.
Okay, we got any more questions? Or I can keep. Let's see. Here, yeah, throw that up there.
That's something. Thoughts on the new fish tip site? I've never heard of that.
I saw it a little
Yeah.
bit yesterday.
Super cool idea. I'm actually pretty good friends with Austin Neary, the one that runs that. And
Okay, so tell everybody what Fish Tips is.
yeah, it's a website where you can upload. It's pretty much just uploading waypoints and ways you caught fish in exchange for money. So I think at first glance it's easy to go, that sounds ridiculous, but when you think about it, guides do that every day, people do that every day, and it's another way to make, supplemental income when you're not on the water. I haven't done it yet, but I get it.
So
it's a good idea.
It works like you would give tips for.
I'm just using you could go on there and you'd let's say the headline would say, it'd be like a picture of, let's say me holding 2 4-pound spots. It'd say 5 summertime holes and 2 baits to go catch spots on Lanier in June, and it'd be like $75. And instead of going on a guide trip, you could buy that.
Okay, I got you. It's called Fish Tips.
Yeah.
All right. How about this one right here? Where do you get your baits from other than 6 Cents? Hammond's, North Georgia Dugout,
and Tackle Warehouse.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I actually did open a 6 Cents account though. I might get them in here.
Heck yeah.
I have an account with them. I did.
I'm sure I can help with that.
Can you help? Well, we will talk absolutely after that. Pull this after that. What is your 2.8 Kitech and that similar type of bait setup?
NRX 852, that same rod I mentioned earlier. 2500 spinning reel, 10-pound braid, 8 to 10-pound fluoro leader.
Okay, and you mentioned, was it the Divine?
Yep, 2.7.
That's the one.
Yeah,
2.7 Divine. Do you ever throw it on an underspin or anything like that? When you throw your Kitechs, are you throwing them on a jig head or an underspin?
I used to throw an underspin a lot more than I do now. I still throw it at times, but I don't nearly throw it as much as I used to. I feel like baits kind of go through phases. I feel like that one's on a little bit of a downswing, and maybe that's more in our heads than anything, but I just don't throw it as much.
That was where I was getting ready to go. Do you think just baits get overfished? Yeah. They've seen it so much and so much.
Yeah. Again, that goes back to the phases thing, like the whole small jig head with a little swim bait. That's kind of a big thing right now, and I'm sure in a year or two it'll be something totally different. So.
Okay. How do you mentally deal with losing a fish during a tournament? Apparently, we heard that too well.
Yeah, no, I've gotten better about it, but that is one thing. I always tell my co-anglers that, I'll lose a big one, and I'm like, I won't forget about that till I catch another big one, but I'm definitely not you'll see Van Dam, he'll lose a giant one and he'll fire a cast out there and act like it never happened. But I think that just comes with time.
I'm sure it bothers him though. It's gotta bother him. He's gotten better at showing
keeping it in and not reacting to it probably makes it worse than if you just let it out.
I got you.
So
what's the worst mistake you've ever made in a tournament? And I say in all your experience, and you've got a lot. What's the worst mistake you've ever made that you would tell the viewers out there? Don't do this.
I've got a lot.
Well, just give me a couple.
Me and my buddy Will fished a night tournament on Lanier and showed up 30 minutes late to weigh in with a winning bag. That was pretty stupid.
Be on time.
Yeah, one of the biggest day 2 at the Smith Lake Regional last year, I lost by 2 ounces, and I had one on several that would have won it, but specifically I had one at our last stop, and it would have 100% cold by probably half a pound, and my co-angler, he'd already had it won by 7 pounds, but he only had 4 fish. So I was throw in there and try to catch one. And I went to boat flip it and it hit the side of the gunnel and came off. And at the time, I didn't realize how much that would cost me, but that was a pretty big mistake.
Okay, I got you. Let's see. Have you used the Caden Dobbins?
I haven't. No, I've seen them. I use all Champions, Furies, and Champion Extremes. The Furies, I will say, for $115.
Hard to beat.
Solid, yeah.
God, they're hard to beat.
And they've got a really good warranty policy. So I break a lot of rods, and if you break a lot of stuff, they'll replace it.
Is that the ones you want to get in here, Ryan?
What? Oh, I want Furies in here, yeah, because I use several Furies. I like them, and I like the Champion. I only have one Champion, but
okay. What are the times to throw an underspin? I'm always throwing underspins, and it works especially on Hartwell.
Yeah. I usually feel like wintertime or late in the summer. when they're really hard to
Do
call
you do
up.
the typical ditch fishing where you drag one of those
Yeah,
right down the middle?
That's actually, I grew up, fishing this lake. We would religiously do that. We'd come out super early in the first 2 hours. We would drag and underspin in the ditches, and we'd almost always catch a 4 or 5 pounder in the morning doing that. I just don't do it as much anymore, and I think that's got something to do with live scope. But I used to throw it a lot more than I do. But late in the summer too, when they're hard to call up, it's a good bait to throw.
Kurt Wee Hunt's got a fantastic question that always seems to bring out a lot of different opinions.
Yeah.
Ray DeFloro, what knot does Emil Wagner use?
The Alberto. The FG is probably better. I just haven't learned it. But the Alberto, I can tie super quick. It's tiny.
Dude,
and
the FG's a pain in the ass to try to tie.
I know, you see guys like holding it with their toenails.
Seriously. Yeah, no,
but it probably is a way better knot. I just haven't gotten around to learning.
But the Alberto, when tied correctly, is just
it's good.
good. Yeah, it's good.
I rarely have issues
All
with
right. Do you like throwing the spot choker? Have you thrown any spot choker?
I haven't tried it yet, but I've heard from multiple people it's a great underspin. So
it is. It is. Them and Sugar Hill are good ones, good local ones like that. Okay. I thought I was reading the comments. I thought there was something. Pull that next one up. What are some good tips for fishing in the transition right now?
I think they're finally getting to be done with it. So now it's just your classic summertime offshore fishing. But if you were to rewind like 2 or 3 weeks, it's probably some of the more grimy fishing of the year, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And just stay versatile. I mean, you can go catch some offshore on top waters, but you're not going to catch many. So like, if you're going to do that, be ready to have a really tough day and maybe only get 5 bites, but they're going to be good ones. But just be ready to grind it out, I guess.
Okay.
That's a complicated question, right there.
Yeah, it is. That's exactly. That's a big one.
That one right there is complicated to answer.
Are the ditches with the big fish usually on the main lake or in the backs of creeks?
Both, honestly. I can think back to tournaments I fished this winter, and we caught some really big ones way in the backs, but we also had, I would say, more consistently on the main lake.
Okay.
Yeah. That don't overlook the backs of the creeks.
All right,
don't get fished for is hard.
That's exactly, right.
Yeah.
You guys
Everyone always thinks go to the backs of the pockets.
And there's so much water to look at. Like when you think of a ditch, if you really factor in everything that could be a ditch, there is thousands of places to look. So it's like maybe
absolutely
nothing wrong with going a little off the wall there.
You guys throw up a few more questions, but we've got a few more minutes of the show, and I kind of want to transition it a little bit to Emil himself. You also run a guide service.
Mm-hmm.
What lakes do you guide on?
Lanier's most of it, and then I guide on Allatoona and Hartwell.
If somebody wanted to get in touch with you.
Yep. So it's my website, Emil Wagner Fishing. You can email me, emilwagnerfishing@gmail.com, or just my phone number, 404-775-0462.
Absolutely. I think I want to say this. When we put it on that you were coming on, we got so many comments about not only are you a great angler, but you're a pretty good dude, like that. So, you got a pretty good reputation among guys. And I can tell tonight, we've been going an hour and almost 40-something, 50 minutes, and you're popping those questions off right there. So I don't want you to ever change with that, no matter how big you get. That's absolutely very good.
Yes,
did you say sir? Like you're polite too? Did you just say yes, sir?
I guess I did.
You did. That's Mr. Paul Marks. Remember, Paul Marks Jr. said sir like 400 times on the show, and I was like, dude, you got to quit. I'm not that old. Your guide service. Typical day when a client comes on, is it more, hey, do you let them dictate what you're going to do? Do they say, hey, I want to go catch fish, or I want to learn something?
Yeah, everyone's different. You kind of got to read every person. And like my guy today, he great fisherman, but doesn't have a boat or anything. He just wanted to go have a great fishing day.
Mm-hmm.
And we did exactly that. We went and just smashed him. He had some questions throughout the day, and I answered them, but he was just out there to catch fish. And then other guys are out there to learn and kind of, ask about like different things throughout the year, seasonal patterns, stuff like that. So everyone's a little bit different. I mean, you get some people who it's like a boyfriend and girlfriend or something who've never fished and they just want to go out and catch something. So It's everybody's a little bit different. So
okay, that's pretty cool. Do you got another question there, Ryan? What Lake Master chip do you use?
I don't have that newest one. I have it on an app. So like if I ever want to compare I think I have version 4 and version 5 of the Lake Master, but then I have the new, I forget what they call it, but the new app where you can look at any lake with the newest charts. So if I'm ever in doubt of something, I can look at that app and double check it.
Okay. Noah had a question right up above that, couple of comments above that right
Yeah.
there. Let's pop that. When fishing a night or afternoon tournament after dark, are you staying deep or going shallow?
Both. You can still catch them out of brush. You can still catch them on rock, and you can catch them on a buzzbait, dirt shallow on the bank. So that's all goes back to what you want to do.
Okay.
All right, here's Kurt.
Yeah, Kurt again. Other than blast off at Laurel, when was the last time you fished north of Thompson Bridge?
North of Thompson Bridge, pretty much never. I've made it up there a few times this spring, very close to it, but I almost never fished.
You're a south guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, do you break Lanier down into certain segments, or like upper lake, mid lake, south?
Yeah,
or you just say, hey,
I pretty much call anything below Browns Bridge is the south end.
Yes.
And then anything between Browns and Thompson is kind of mid lake, and anything above that's the north end.
Okay.
He breaks it down the same way I do.
He does, absolutely. So, what are Emil Wagner's goals for the rest of 23 and the following year, 2024?
I'm just enjoying the process. I mean, like I said, I wasn't necessarily expecting to win the All American or anything. I'm just enjoying every single tournament.
That's a hell of an accomplishment.
Yeah.
You realize that, right?
Yeah.
That's a big deal right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, again, it's not about the money. It's not about any of that. I just love doing it, and it's what I want to do for a living. So I'm just going to keep fishing what I can and moving up, and it'll take me where it takes me.
You're proud of that trophy, though.
Yeah.
He walked in with that trophy. He had just this big shit-eating grin on his face. Like, check this thing out. And it's awesome. But don't ever let it change you.
No,
that's good. Absolutely. So, in the end game, where do you want to end up?
I don't know. That's a great question. I think we all watched the Elite Series as a kid, if that's what you're asking. Like,
yeah.
I would really like to fish the Elites, but at the same time, if the Bass Pro Tour is here to stay, that might not be a bad route either, but I'm still figuring that out. I really don't know. If I had to pick one right now.
If you had to pick one right now, let me put you on the spot.
It would be the Elites, but I'd say there's probably a better chance I fish the Invitationals next year to get to the Bass Pro Tour. So I don't know, but if the most attractive option right now is probably the Opens to get to the Elites, but I don't know yet.
Listen, just to be able to have that on your plate as options.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Not a lot of guys around here get that.
No, I'm lucky.
I don't think you're lucky. I think you're good. Yeah. I mean, it might take a little luck here and there, but you got to have a certain skill level. I'm not going to go fish the Elites anytime,
Yeah.
Danny Pruitt's not going to be an elite fisherman.
Yeah.
The All American. Sheesh, hell no. I know better than that. All American is the hardest tournament to win. An unbelievable accomplishment. Now, when somebody, and of course, their Facebook user, and I don't have their name right there because they didn't go to www.streamyard.com/Facebook. But when somebody makes a comment like that right there, the All American is the hardest tournament to win. How does that make you feel?
I did hear that a lot before the event. So, I mean, it's hard to get to. It's hard to win, but it did line up in my favor. So, I mean, I feel like the stars just kind of aligned.
I think you're pretty humble, and you don't want, you don't want to be that. Look at that, the hardest tournament to win.
It's a tough one. It is. I mean, like I said, it's hard to just get there. So, I mean,
yeah,
it's crazy. Like, it's only been a couple days, so it's still.
Because you were on the show. What is about a year and a half ago?
Yeah,
about a year and a half ago. It might have been that. We had the same crappy internet back then as we do now, but you were on the show, and now, from then to now, you're an All-American champion.
Hopefully, in a year it'll be something else.
Well, listen now. When you get on the elites and all that, you still gonna come back and do little old Danny's.
If I get there.
No. I didn't say that. When you get to the elites, you still gonna come back and do little. Okay.
By the time he gets there, we should have better internet.
Yeah.
Hell, I hope so. I hope so.
If you have fiber by then.
Listen, hey, you know what? He's got the money now. We got to bum a loan from him, and he could buy us some like Starlink or something like that. It's Spence. So do you know Spence? So the Facebook user's name is Spence. You know Spence?
Maybe Spencer.
My mind's running all over the place. Spencer who?
I don't know, but it was
Spencer Howardson. I was just texting him today. It could be him.
That's
definitely who it is. Yeah.
Spence, there you go.
Yeah.
Real quick, what are common problems with a co-angler or a guide client?
Those are two very different groups, but don't really have problems with guide clients other than maybe if they're super green to bass fishing. We can spend the first few hours of the trip literally just learning to fish, and they're wondering why we're not catching anything, and it's because they don't know how to cast. But
right,
I mean that's part of it, and it's all good. But guide trips almost always go well, so I don't have many problems there. But co-anglers, maybe if you have one that's a little bit over aggressive and likes, even co-angler, I'm a pretty easygoing guy, so it usually goes pretty well.
Been pretty blessed with that so far. All right, well, I'll tell you what, first of all, especially while we got a good crowd on here again, I want to congratulate you. I know it hasn't sunk in, but on your accomplishment, again, we've heard it coming. That is a hell of an accomplishment that you just did.
Thank you.
And especially, somebody around here knowing, and at 25, you're 25, right?
Yeah.
That's the right age? Okay,
yep.
So to do that so young. And again, Matt and Buddy had great tournaments.
Yeah, congrats
to them. The local contingent was represented very well.
Yeah.
Tell them how you put your co-anglers into place. We got to do that. How do you put the co-anglers in their place? Real quick before I sign off on this thing.
I don't know. No.
You don't just tell them? Have you had to?
I mean, 90% of the time there's no issues. I would say I remember I fished my first one when I was like 16, like the first age you're allowed to fish one. I remember my co-angler just like took full advantage of it and fished in front all day. But now, like I said, there's rarely ever an issue. But yeah, if there is, just bring it up early and make sure it's not a problem.
I think he's too nice to actually have any confrontations and all that. So, but again, listen, number one, and again, this is the comment I heard from everybody. Yeah, you can fish like hell, that's good, but you're a cool dude, especially mature for your age. And so I appreciate that. Too. We try to be. We're the heathens of North Georgia. But I want to thank you for coming up and of course spending time with us, but also answering all the questions.
Absolutely.
Because we get some from time to time that are kind of hesitant. You answered every question. And so I appreciate that. That's a good thing. And I think that makes a great guide too, as well. So I want to thank you.
Probably comes with that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be. You have to be a people person to be a guide, or you're not going to be in business. But I want to thank you again for coming up, especially on short notice, and then for your accomplishments. And I think all of us are looking forward to watching. Now I've got a reason to watch the Red Crest.
Yeah, it'll be live. So
dude, I'm gonna be rooting for you like a crazy dog. Brian, you got anything else before I wrap this up?
If you come back with a Red Crest win, you do realize there'll probably be like a parade.
Yeah, we'll have to do something.
Hell, if he wins that, I'll throw rose petals in front of you when you walk through the door.
That's part of the parade.
Well, after the All American, we went to Tim's house and had a bonfire the size of this basement. So maybe we'll have.
Dude, hell yeah! Listen, we're country boys. We can get a fire going.
Yeah,
we got some places. All right. Anyway, though, Emil, absolute pleasure to have you on. Absolutely. And
come back again. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. You're good people, and we wish you the most success out there. I don't like professional fishing because I don't really I like to have kind of know the person and all that. So I really don't know who. Now I got somebody to root for.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So you got a fan in me.
Thank you.
Guys, listen, absolutely appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Again, sorry for the great TDS telecom internet that we got here. We apologize. We do the best we can. We got fiber coming soon. If you're watching us on YouTube and all, make sure you subscribe and like. And again, I'm going to take this. I'm going to put it on iTunes and Spotify probably Saturday in a couple of days, so you guys can go back and listen to it there as well. Ryan, fantastic job behind the board as always.
That's right.
He tries. He does a very good job. You look great on camera tonight. You guys, if you're going fishing this weekend, first of all, make sure you have a great time, but be safe.
Remember, Saturday is free fishing day.
Free fishing day here in Georgia. So take somebody who doesn't have a license, doesn't fish. They got a free day, ain't got to go buy one. Put them on the water. Guide them a little bit. That's what we're all about here, trying to build up our community and all. But we appreciate you guys joining us, like that whistle, and we'll see you on the next one. So again, Emil, keep kicking ass.
Thank you guys.
Awesome, man. Thank you.